go. Y'all, I'm really trying to fix this. I may have to go vertical. Oh no. I didn't schedule today. Welcome to Sunday Craft and Chat. I'm going to apologize in advance because we will be vertical because I did not schedule this. So I don't know how to change it. So if I miss your message, I always come back. Ooh, will it let me change it? Nope, I don't think I can once I'm already going. So with that said, hi, I'm Dana. Welcome to essenceofme.com and the Freedom Please channel. This is our Sunday crafting and chat. And honestly, this week has been absolutely crazy because I was traveling this week. So I literally just kind of got settled in, and I had nothing prepared for today. I don't even have anything to show on my what do you want to call it? My now I can't think of the word, my personal curriculum, because I was traveling this week. So when I sat down, I was sitting to watch a interview that my husband and I did with AHA here on YouTube. So check that out. And what I'm doing is I'm just doing some just little basic, what do you call these? I'm doing some basic just rectangles in a watercolor journal because I want to be able to practice mark making and sort of have a mark making book with ideas, because I realize when it comes to mark making, I have no idea. Like, people make it seem like, oh, just make dashes or dots or something, and I never feel like I know what to do. So hello, thank you for joining. How was my day? My day was great. How was yours? And so that's what I'm doing. So I'll show you. So what I'm doing with this, because I just planned to do this in this watercolor journal, is I'm using a lot of paints that are in this palette that are sort of turned into the same color because I was doing the mother method of sort of mixing a little bit of color in each one so that they would sort of kind of get harmonious. And what happens in the end is almost all the colors end up looking fairly similar. So what I usually do is I just paint with those until I play with those until they all sort of turn into the same color. And then now I'm just going to turn these into a bunch of squares and rectangles in this watercolor journal like this, so that I can go through and I can just do different mark makings. And I want to just fill the pages. I was doing a class earlier this week, and I realized that I had no idea how to do mark making. So I decided that I am going to fill this book with just different shapes, and it doesn't have to be anything specific. And a lot of them are going to be about the same color because I do this particular, this leftover paint until it's all gone. So with that said, let me know what you all are crafting on right now. Um, I've been working on a new knit hat because after, yeah, no, I have no idea what you mean by a car. We are not talking about cars. Y'all make sure when you're painting that you do not accidentally add your brush to your coffee. That would not be a good look. I started a new knit hat. This cooler weather, since I cut my hair, makes it so cold. So I am starting a new hat, but I realized that I need to go get more yarn. The yarn that I have, so I'm filling a page like this. The yarn that I have and that I like to use when I knit hats is one that you cannot find in your regular stores. You have to go usually to a smaller store, and the store that I used to buy it at is no longer open. And so I have to find an on the line location that will let me buy it because I really like it, which is the Baracco. They make a really nice acrylic. And it's a 4-ply. But what makes it really nice is the fact that it's super soft. It's not hard like whenever you have like a red heart or something like that, but it's still a 100% acrylic yarn. And so right now what I'm doing is sort of doing a hat with mixed colors because I'm just getting all of the leftover bits and pieces from when I finished other projects and adding them to the same hat. I think this must be a really popular time because there's people on here that I do not recognize your names. I appreciate you stopping by, but I don't recognize your names, which is, I guess, a good problem to have. Let's see. Do you knit sweaters from just like a pattern or from you just have a like a staple pattern that you just know? I have one that I really like, and I do have all the yarn in to start it. I can't think of her name right now, but it's a designer on Ravelry that I really like her knit sweaters. And I've made probably 3 of her designs, and she's been the one that I kind of just stick with because I have been able to successfully do her designs over the years. And I don't know if I'm brave enough or what to do someone else's, because what I found is some of them, it is so much work. And what I like about hers is you can kind of just coast and it will still turn out really nice. Yeah, even doing these squares, I'm like, I wish I knew how to do a better job. But being that I'm just going to come through here and just do different mark making patterns, it really doesn't matter. I usually go like really slow. You found a video. Oh, see, that's my kind of pattern. Like, did you say knit? And you said knit. Yeah, that's my kind of pattern where it's sort of like you have to pay attention, but not the whole time. How long does it take you to do? Like, does it take you a long time to knit it? And are you a fast knitter? And what weight is it? The yarn. Listen, ones where you can just like coast is thebomb.com, because it becomes so relaxing, because you don't have to sort of tie yourself to the pattern. You just have to remember when to switch over. I can't remember if I said this in the last live, but I realized that some of my supplies that I got in the beginning, I don't like. For watercolor. So for example, I'll show you. Actually, let me finish this one. There we go. So this right here, I bought this, and I bought it because it had so many like of the whales, but I realized I don't like it. It's plastic, and I find that I don't really like the way the paint sort of moves around on it. Like, you can feel the difference. What I really like, and it's my favorite, is this. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It has 5 of these, and you can unstack them, and they stack without like they're not nestled. They stack, and they're porcelain, and I love this set. So I actually just got another set. I really, really like it. Another thing that I have learned is that I got this one, which is Arteza paints. Oh, hold on. It's medium weight. I use 5mm US 8 needles. Oh, that's a good size. I knit a new one every year. I work on it kind of slowly over the first few months of the year, but I'm always done by May. Oh, I like that. Oh, I don't think, I don't want to get people into the, like, do you know the name of the pattern? That sounds like my kind of pattern. I like going slow too. Like, I'm not in a hurry to finish fast. My last sweater took me a while. Y'all, I'm using this. I use this to put water in the like, in this one, it's actually almost done because it's like almost all water now. And then I'll wash it and clean everything up. That's another thing too. Using the porcelain, it just cleans up really nice and easy. I love to do stuff that'll go like really slow, and it's okay. Like, I can just do it over time. But yeah, so I love the porcelain. Oh, that's what I was going to say about the paints. These paints, I bought these because I love teal, but one of the things that I'm learning is the way that watercolors look in the pen don't always compare to the way that they look on paper. And this one is, it's okay. It hasn't been my favorite. The watercolors that have been a favorite to me have been these two. And these are the Koi watercolors. This one is it's a 24, I'm telling a story. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it is a 24 color set that I really, really like. And they have great payoff. I love mixing them. I use the yellows in there a lot. But this set right here is the one that I really like. And it almost makes me want to get the bigger set. I love the texture on this set. This is also a 24 color set. And the texture is like, I've seen some people describe it almost like a gouache, but I've never used gouache, so I can't speak to that. But it has like a creamy consistency that I really like. I really like it a lot. So those two. Now in here, I have my primary colors, which are Daniel Smith colors, but I'm finding I rarely use these. I don't use them that much. I find that because of those other ones, I use those a lot more. And it could be because I have, it could be because I'm getting used to the colors. And so I find that I reach for them more. Um, and so, yeah. And so, yeah. Oh, yes. If you can remember, that'll be great. I'm just now getting into watercolor. It's something that I'm learning to enjoy now that I decided I wanted to learn it. I'm taking a class, if you're new around here, I'm taking a class that we have once a week. It started in January and it'll go through, I think it's the beginning of April. I think it's a 16-week class and it's been really nice. It is having us do more than what I intended to do with watercolor, but I'm finding I'm learning a lot of skills. So, and it's a very interesting hobby to have when you just want to sit and do something simple. You know what? I've done acrylic. I have one acrylic class, and when I did my handmade journals, I found that I did acrylic with those too. So I do some acrylic. The reason why I end up doing watercolor more is because when I first started, I was doing watercolors like with faith art journaling, and it does really well on thin pages. So that's what made me end up, and then you can get like watercolor pencils and all of that. Oh, that's not judgmental. That's just your personal opinion. Yeah, it's just your personal opinion. So like here's what I have so far. I'm trying to be so careful that I do not accidentally put my brush in my water. So I'm just sort of filling the pages with leftover paint. And then I'm gonna go through and do different mark making techniques on each one of them. I gotta let that dry first. So yeah, I did, when I made handmade journals, a lot of the uh, classes that I saw were using acrylics to make the background pages, sort of like on mixed media paper. I I like that too, but I'm not that bold yet. I'm not that bold yet. Like I found that I do like stuff like the wet on wet technique, but I'm not that good yet. So I'm always like a little bit nervous that I'll mess it up. But it's all good. It is all good. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to let that dry and I'm going to go to another um, page in my, this is a watercolor journal that I made. But I think any sort of, hobby that, allows you to enjoy yourself, that allows you to express yourself, and it's not harming anyone. It's like, do you, do you have a great time, express yourself. There's a lot of, you know, worse ways that you could spend your time. I'm going to actually set up to do a little bit more before we sign out. So I see we have knitters. We have, do you normally do a lot of acrylic painting? I'm pulling out these other palettes that I have that I haven't pulled out in a while, just to do a little bit of, it is, oh, you're a canvas painter? Oh, you're a real painter. Yeah, I have no desire to do canvases. I feel like you really have to have an artistic eye, or at least have a artistic sort of perspective. I've been doing that class, and all of our paintings are along the sort of real art lines, you know what I mean? And for me, it takes way too much. Yes, it takes longer. I think it takes a lot more planning and thinking too. I am really loving the sort of meditative sort of types of art. So it's smaller pieces. Um, it is, now the class has us doing all kind of stuff. Like we're doing rocks and birds and butterflies and landscapes, and we're doing a little bit of everything, but I feel like I will only end up doing those for the class, and then once the class is over, I will be done. Have you been an artist for long? Has it always been something you wanted to do? When I was younger, I used to not paint. I used to be more of, I used to draw. So, that was what I like to do. I used to love to sketch, and I'm slowly finding that again in my crafting. Yeah, my space is like, I pulled out these other ones and it takes up so much space. So it's not something. Do you have a studio space? I find that when you do canvases that you need a lot of space, don't you? And do you work on like multiple pieces at a time? Do you have to wait like in between layers? I don't have a lot of experience with canvases. I've only done canvases a couple of times, and they were those sort of classes where they tell you what you're going to draw, and then you sketch it. Oh, that's nice. Wait, but you do canvas work as work, or you also paint for work? Thank you for sharing. This is always fascinating to me. I find that so many people like do art or some sort of art, and it's not until you start sharing that you do, that they share that they do, and I think that's so cool. It's like fascinating. Now, what's very interesting, like my mother, she also does painting, but she does like restoration. She loves to do like household items. She does mirrors. She does pieces that could be, I don't know what it's called, but that could be hung on a wall. She loves to go, and I think of it as like people that do, what is it called? Like I want to say restoration, but it may not be the right word for it. But that's the kind of painting she does. So she goes and she finds pieces that people have thrown out or don't want anymore, and she restores them with by repainting them, adding on elements. So it's interesting now when I think about it, because it's like, okay, I get it, honestly. And it makes it like so much fun to see what she does. And it's like you get to see how different people use their skills. Right now I'm just doing these rectangles in my um, art watercolor journal. I found that I did another piece and I used these pencils that I absolutely love, but it sort of made them ghost on this paper. So I'm not going to use them on this paper anymore, but I didn't know that until I did it. So now I just have to deal with it because I want to paint on both sides. And I may find that it's not possible. You try to focus on one piece at a time. Do you have to take breaks between layers as well if you're doing acrylic? I literally have no, like, I've done acrylic a handful of times. Well, every time I did acrylic, we would do something and then you would sit and let it dry, or you would do the little hand dryer. I think it's so cool when you're able to like do the art that you love for your profession. As someone who's a writer, like, I see writing that way, that it's me getting the opportunity to engage in the art that I really love as my profession. And I love it. I love it. And it's what I get to do. Like all week, I was working on I finished the draft of a new story. And this is just something I get to enjoy as well. But it really supports um, me being a novelist. And I find that they go really well together, that you get to give yourself an opportunity to think and process. And then I start thinking about a new story or a problem or another layer of my story. And when I'm finished, I've painted a piece and I have I've painted a piece and I've worked out my problem. So it makes it for a really great experience. I just added more paint in this, and this is going to look like the craziest ombre ever. So we have a painter, a knitter. I think that's so dope. I can't see your name for the knitter. Are you someone that you only like to work on one project at a time as well? I hope while you guys are sitting up here watching me paint, you are doing something so that you're making a good use of this time. I find that I never can work on one thing at a time. Like, I'm always like working on more than one project at a time. And it didn't used to be that way. It started being that way when I sort of made the decision that I wasn't in a hurry to finish. And so that means that I usually have like 3 projects at one time that I'm working on. I'll usually do one that's a hand project. So like either hand, either I'm hold on, I'm either like hand sewing or piecing. So for that one, primarily I'm working on hexagons that I'm working on, both small and large. It depends on how you want coverage of the paint. I use a lot of solid colors, so I use a wetter brush to thin out the paint, but better coverage. So typically I use a few layers. That's awesome. That's awesome. And when you say big, like what do you mean by large? Like size-wise, just roughly. So yeah, I do. I like doing usually I'll do a small project that's by hand or something that's hand pieced. So right now, that hand piece is going towards doing hexies, like really small hexies. They're I think they're considered 2.5-inch hexies. And I have a feeling that I'll be working on that for a really long time to be able to have enough hexies to do a blanket, you know? And then I also have a hand one that I'm doing with large hexies to make a picnic quilt. I'm working on a picnic quilt. And so that one, so basically I prep for both of them, and then I just sew through all my prepped hexies, and then I just switch those out, put them in a container, and then I'll pull out a new set and I'll keep doing them. And then I have a big project that can take a while, and right now that big project is a paper piece where I'm doing a huge I think it's a monarch butterfly, and it is a kit from Legit Kits, and I've been working on that one for a while, but so that's a big project. But with that one, I have to be mindful because it's a lot of little pieces, and you really got to have at least like 30 minutes to an hour to work on it. Oh no, I don't know the dimensions. I don't usually pay attention to that stuff. Oh, okay. I think that's dope. Awesome. And so I'll usually have a big project, a little project, and then the third project can be anything. Sometimes it's a kit. Sometimes it's a block a month. And so it just depends on what I feel like. Right now, that third project is a rag quilt that I'm making for my husband. And so that one sort of is keeping me busy because I really wanted it done by the Super Bowl. Y'all, that did not happen. As we know, the Super Bowl has come and gone, and I'm still working on it. So I just have to I just have to suck that one up. And but I'm almost done. I've done all of the blocks, and now I'm preparing to sew the blocks together so that I can assemble it because they're all done. And the other one that I have, because normally it's only 3, but it just so happens that right now it's 4 because I was working on a potato chip quilt, and I would have been done, but when I laid it out, I realized that I want to put sashing. So that means it's not done yet. I have all the blocks done, but now I need to cut and assemble the sashing. Let me show you guys what I'm working on. Hey, lady, how's it going? I've been meaning to ask you how those grandbabies doing. So this is what I'm working on right now. Yeah, you know what? It is hard to focus if you're doing more than one project. I think, well, the only reason why I find that I'm able to is because usually those projects are designated either by space or time. So, for example, my hand sewn projects, I always do those like while I'm watching TV or something like that. So that means it's in the living room. Like my English paper piecing project, that is that one's in my studio. So it's got to be, you know, when I have some time to like be in my studio. And then like right now, me working on the rag quilt, that one is getting the most time because now that all the blocks are assembled, I mean, all the blocks are done, it is huge and it's taking over my studio. So I can't do anything else in there until that one is done. So that sort of is how I'm able to do it. I also find that when I have days when I can quilt for or work for longer periods of time, I like to switch it up. So that's what I usually end up doing. They're doing good. That's awesome. And so um, I find that that's the way that I'm able to manage, and I like to mix it up. If I'm sewing like those rag quilt blocks, when I was doing those and I would go into my studio, I would only have like 20 minutes, maybe 15 to 20 minutes tops to be able to work. So that was perfect for sewing a block or two. Okay. And so yeah, so I find that just like having that variety makes it exciting and mixes things up and gives me different things to work on. Especially when you have something like that English paper piecing project. That one is such a beast of a project that I only can do it for short periods of time or just like a certain amount of time because I will get you got to focus. If you lose your concentration on that one, you really could mess something up. And you cannot fix it. Like I mean you could, but you can't. So, when I start feeling myself not into it like I need to be, I stop because I'm not going to mess that one up. And so that's sort of how I know, and it may be if I have more time, I switch. But I will say that we're coming up on my birthday in like a couple months. And I think this year I want to do like I did last year, which is, I want some more yellow. What I did last year was I did like a staycation retreat. Like I did a quilting retreat with myself. And I think that's what I want to do this year again and only work. I want some more yellow. So I'm going to uh, put a little bit of water in it and kind of let it soften up, and I'm going to get some of that yellow. I think I'm going to do a quilting retreat and work just on my Monarch because I really want to finish it. I'm ready to see that Monarch quilt on my wall. I want it on my wall behind my long arm. And I feel like I just need like 2 to 3 days of working on it for a few hours to be able to really just like give it some TLC and to make some progress on it. And so it's got me thinking that I think I'm going to do another, I kind of think I did too much. Do another quilt retreat this year with myself. I was sort of thinking about doing it virtually, like inviting people to join me for my birthday. But that would just be a lot of extra work. So, yeah, so that's how I maintain doing multiple projects. And I honestly wouldn't change it. Hence the, this being a hobby channel. I just love being able to change projects up, switch it up, pull out another project, and keep it popping. This one's going to be a little bit darker than the other one for some reason. I feel like it's going to be. So, yeah. So while I'm doing this and you all are listening, are you working or are you just hanging out? So this week, okay, so one of the things that was a part of my personal curriculum, we got 15 minutes, personal curriculum, is that I want to start making sure that I'm bringing books to my YouTube channel. Y'all know I read a lot of books. This week I read three books. I read 3 books. One of them, oh my gosh, it was super steamy. But it was so good. It was so good. It was a really good book. It was better than I expected. I had was looking for a book for our book club for and I wanted it to be an African American romance for the month of February. And I went in search of a book. And when I went on to Amazon, it was on, they had the audio book was on sale, and it turned out to be such a good book. Come on, knitting the sweater. I love it. I love it. So I read that one. It was a vacation romance, like a vacation fling. Well, no, not a vacation fling. Sort of like a vacation fling. It was a destination wedding, and the female protagonist, it was her sister getting married, and her sister was marrying her ex-boyfriend. So it was messy. Her sister was marrying her ex-boyfriend, and the female protagonist, what was her name? Janelle. Her name was Janelle. And so Janelle was the maid of honor, and her sister was marrying her ex. And everybody was sort of trying to coddle her because they felt sorry for her having to be involved. Yeah, I'm going to get a little bit of this yellow. Having to be involved with the wedding, knowing that that was her ex. And her mom, low-key, thought that she still had feelings for him. And she was like totally over the guy. But everybody kept making it super awkward. And she ends up having a fling with the best man. Listen. Basically, even though I'm saying this a part of it, and it sounds like it's a bunch of mess a little bit, it turned out to be this really great story about like how you can lose your voice when it comes to interacting and engaging with your family. Like, she kept doing all of this for her sister in a sense that she always felt like I don't know. I'm the oldest sibling, so I feel like I understand this. But you know, if you ever have a relationship with your siblings where you're always either the responsible one or the one that's always dependable and all of that, and that's what Janelle found herself in with her sister. I think her sister, y'all, I'm always awful with character names. I think the sister's name was Mia. It was something with an M or something like that. And she would basically just excused her sister's behavior to keep the peace. And all the while, she was basically just slowly but surely losing her voice. And it wasn't just with her sister, it was also with her mother. And I found that even though it, like, of course, of what I'm saying just sounds like it is drama, it was a really good story. It was a great story. It was like she was learning how to have her own voice, and her hooking up with the best man turned out to be so, I mean, yes, it was a little bit of drama, but it was so juicy. So, and it was a destination wedding. So everyone is sort of like stuck together, and it turned out to be great. And you can tell that it was set up to be a great series that'll be coming up. Yeah, I really want to like this brush, but I find that I don't like it. It's like it seems like the point doesn't stay the way I want it to. I'm going to try. And so it was very, very good. It was an enjoyable read. It was an easy read. I did it in audiobook form. I love audiobooks. I used to didn't like them. I love them now. And it was perfect for the week of travel. Yeah, because you can get caught up. I think it sounds interesting too. You can get caught up in the fact that it was drama. You know what I mean? But when you got into the story, she just, you sort of just like you bite your tongue to hold the peace. And what ended up happening is the more she sort of bit her tongue to hold the peace, she found more and more that her feelings and her needs in her family unit was essentially being ignored. And her sister, under the umbrella of like being a bridezilla, was just totally taking advantage of it, when in a lot of ways you could tell that she was all, I don't want to say she was jealous of her sister. Like the one that was marrying the ex was jealous of her other sister because she was she was basically hoping that the man that she was about to marry didn't still have feelings for her. So the thing that you thought was going to be all messy about it turned out to be warranted, but not so much. And so you saw the dynamics of a family sort of trying to work through this resentment that had been building up over years. But this wedding and this relationship that was already low key messy just became fertile ground for drama. It was a good kind of. It was so good. But y'all, it was super steamy. It was super steamy. And for the record, I picked the book for our book club selection. Normally, whenever I pick the book for the book club selection, it's a book that I've read at least a couple of times before. And this time it wasn't true. And y'all, I was just like, oh, dang, this is super steamy. It was, it was super steamy and juicy at the same time. So I was just like, okay, well, I mean, all you can do is roll with it because it was already selected. But other book club members was they said they really liked it. It was a really great story. She had amazing friends. Um, she had a great relationship with her father, and the best man and the guy that she had the fling with was a great guy too. So in the end, as all romances do, it worked out. But she had to do some putting her foot down and honestly just like being truthful about what she needed. Oh, yeah. I love to read. I've always, well, there was a season when I was younger when I stopped reading as much until I found African American romances. And once I found those, it was like, where have these been my whole life? I was younger, not super young. I was in high school. I think I've told you guys this story before, but I was in high school. I think I was around 16. And I went into this bookstore, and when I went into the bookstore, it was a store I'd never been into, and I still don't know what made me want to go into the store, but I went into the store, and it was called Mitchie's in Austin, and in Austin, Texas. I don't know if they're still there. So I always say the name just in case they are. But what they used to do at the store is they used to frame art, and they also sold books. They had books, and they had a lot of, it was a Black owned bookstore. They had a lot of um, African American books, and they had a lot of independent books, and they had books by local Austin authors. And so I'll go in the store and I'm just looking around. I don't even remember why I went in the first place. And the owner, who I learned later was the owner, she must have just saw me just looking and feeling like confused, because she came over and she was like, did you need help? And I was like, I don't know. Like I didn't know what to pick or whatever. And she was like, do you mind if I make a suggestion? And I was like, oh, I'd love that. So she takes me to this wall, and now I know that that wall was the local Austin authors. And she uh recommended a book called The Price of Passion. It was called The Price of Passion by Evelyn Palfrey. And she was an African American. I believe I don't I'm gonna say is because I haven't talked, like, been in contact with her in years. But um it was called Price of Passion by Evelyn Palfrey, and it was this book about um, a law student who was married to. He was a lawyer, and he was. It's been a long time since I read it, but he was something like a, let's say, a senator hopeful, or a senator. He was a senator or a candidate to be a senator, something like that. Y'all, this man at the beginning of the book comes in with a baby and drops the baby off with her, and he goes on about his business like he just did not bring a whole baby home. And the story follows her basically like trying to give the baby back to him, and also like this baby didn't do anything to be in this situation, and she's trying to um handle law school and all of this while basically he's out here cheating. He out here for the streets, and left her with this baby. I'm talking about left her with the baby with no stuff, and she's just trying to finish law school, and ends up finding love. And so I find this book, I fall in love, and oh my goodness. But books, especially if you find that you like audiobooks and crafting go hand in hand. I did not like audiobooks for a long time. I could listen to audiobooks that were nonfiction, but it was hard for me to listen to audiobooks that were fiction until I found the right narrators. And once I found the right narrators, I was like, okay, I can do this. So now, baby, it's on and popping. Okay. So I read this book by Evelyn Palfrey and I fall in love. I mean, the protagonist is Black. She finds love with a guy. I believe he was one of the professors at her law school. I mean, she was an adult. Like she wasn't a kid. And all of Evelyn's characters are like grown. I mean, like women in their, mid 30s, like mid 30s or older or whatever. And strong friendships and things like that. And so she finds love, and I love the book, so I read that book, and then after I read that book, that was The Price of Passion, and then the other book was I can't remember, but what I loved about the book that stuck with me, even though I can't think of the title right now, it had these three Black friends. She said, I keep falling asleep. That means you're too tired. You got to find a good one. Listen, I might need to recommend that one, girl. You might be shocked. Your eyebrows might be reaching your hairline, but it was a good book. And when I got to the second Evelyn Palfrey book, it was a great book about, it again was a love story, a mature, older Black couple. And she had an RV, or either she had it or he had it. And she would go to like Mississippi and Louisiana to go to blues, uh not conferences, what they call, like festivals and things like that. And I was just like, at my young age, my eyes were just open to a life that I just didn't know anything about. I grew up in what would be considered the inner city, and um, talking about people that have RVs and that travel the world and all that was just not in my understanding. It wasn't in my vocabulary. So to read the book about these women, these Black women doing all these great things, it just opened my eyes. And I loved it so much that I wrote the author a letter. And when I listen, y'all, just let you know how long ago this was. I wrote her a letter. I wrote her a letter, and she wrote me back. She wrote me back. Miss Evelyn wrote me back. And when she wrote me back, I told her how much I loved her book. And she invited me to a book club discussion that had been invited to, and she invited me to come. And y'all, I went, and let me tell you something. You couldn't tell me nothing. Do you hear me? You couldn't tell me nothing. I went, and I drove, and I had my, this is when I had my own car, and I had just got my car, and I drove myself, and I went to the book club meeting, and it was all of these. Listen, y'all, at that age, I just felt like my eyeballs was popping out of my head, because they were all these just Black women doing it, just like they were all professional. It was a book club that they had between this group of friends. And so I was the only one that I didn't know them. And to sit around, and I'm talking and holding my own, and they welcomed me in, even though, Miss Evelyn was the one that had invited me. And that moment changed my life forever. Forever. And I say this all the time. I mean, I am a writer because of that moment. I end up later, and I would say, she ended up becoming like a mentor to me. I went to law school, and when I would come home, we would meet up for lunch, and she actually was she was a lawyer. And one of the reasons why I went to law school was because of reading that book. I had never even thought of somebody being a lawyer. Like I just didn't know. I mean, and let me just like paint a like the other part of the picture of like this was at a time. I find that I can read a physical book and then at the same time. Now you a bad mama jamma. You knitting, reading a physical book, and listening to music. I love it. So I'm gonna paint a picture. So like at this time, when you are talking about like first of all, you did not have a lot of your sort of representation of people of color on TV was very limited. Um, I remember the most that I knew when it came to somebody being a lawyer was thinking about Claire Huxtable on the Cosby Show. I mean, I lived in the projects growing up, and um, so like everybody is just trying to make $1 out of 15 cents. It was just how it was. So you're not trying to think about going to go to college and go to law school. Like you're just thinking, don't get pregnant. I mean, I'm just keeping it a buck. So to have that moment, it just changed my life. It changed the way that I saw, the I would say the Black experience, which then was beyond what I had ever had an opportunity to experience. And after that, like it was no looking back. It was no looking back. Like it was on and popping. And so that was when I fell in love with reading again. It wasn't that I wasn't a reader at all, but I wasn't a big reader because I did well in school, but not well enough in school to where people talk to me about college or anything like that. But I was in advanced English classes and advanced math classes. So a lot of what I read at that time were the classics. And the classics, I mean, if you weren't talking about like, what was that one? I used to love it. Oh my goodness. I feel like I need to find a copy and read it again. Um, Red Fern, was it Red Fern? Oh, what is it called? With the dogs? Or if you weren't talking about those books, you just really didn't see a lot of books with Black characters thriving. You know what I mean? And so it just, that moment going into that bookstore changed my life forever. So now to think about how thank you, Red Fern Grows. That's the book. I used to love that book. I haven't read that book in probably, if I'm 47, I haven't read that book in 30 years, over 30 years. Oh, and so wait, let me tell you the other part because this is how I found my favorite book of all time. Okay. So Miss Evelyn, again, her name was Evelyn Palfrey. She sort of became like a mentor to me. And what started happening was she would recommend books to me. And she ends up recommending another book, which is called Indigo by Beverly Jenkins. And at first, I thought I would not like the book because the book is about um, uh, this woman. Her name is Hester Wyatt, who works on the Underground Railroad and who was born a slave after her father, who was free, sold himself into slavery to be with her mother because her owner would not sell her to him. And eventually, Hester is raised by her aunt, who's an abolitionist. And it's about her sort of doing the work of, helping people to escape slavery and trying to end slavery. And she falls in love with a man they call the Black Daniel, who is known for going into the South and dressing up and buying slaves back and taking them to their families, or stealing slaves back and taking them back to their family. And there's like a bounty on his head. And he comes to her house and she nurses him back to health. Listen, if I thought I was not going to like it, because don't nobody want to sit up here and read about no slavery. Okay. Now listen, do you want to like know about it and should it still be in schools and taught? Absolutely. And we're not going to talk about that. But the point is, like, that's the first thing that I would thought. That book is one of my favorite books of all time. I read that book at least once every single year since I was 17 years old, and I am 47 years old. And and that I have read it even more than that. That's how much I love this book. So if you have never read it, it's called Indigo by Beverly Jenkins. And Miss Evelyn put me up on game when she told me about that one. And then that turned into me falling in love with Miss Beverly's books. And then once I fell in love with Miss Beverly books, I found like Rochelle Ellers and Brenda Jackson, and then it spread out to everything else. And now I read everything and everyone. I read it all. And to think that now I work with authors all because of going into that, that bookstore, 30 years ago. And it changed my life forever. Literally. Like, not figuratively at all. It's like, and now it's what I do. I get to write, and I get to, y'all, I'm up here doing this, but I low-key have lines on here, and I need help with brush control because I'm not staying in nobody's lawn. I need to get better at it, and I'm just, yeah. So it's turned into, I'm the biggest reader. So I like to jokingly say, but it's really not a joke. Like ever since that moment, if I'm happy, I read. If I'm sad, I read. If I'm tired, I read. It's like, it's just what I do. It's what I do for my job. It's how I get peace and rest and like refuel. Um and I think that it is just so amazing that in a lot of ways I can feel like it just happened. But the reality is, like, it found me, it found me. And my life is like forever changed because of it. And I just feel so blessed. I feel so, so blessed because I just never thought it could be that way. So my life took a huge turn when my kids were younger and I was working in law firms, practicing law, and realizing that I hated it. I hated it. I hated it. Everything about it. It just, um, and one day I told my husband, um, I told my husband, like, I can't do this anymore. I just can't do it anymore. And meaning practice like law, go work at a law firm. Before that, I was a paralegal for years, but it was something different to like work as an attorney. I just, I was in a big firm. I didn't like it. It just wasn't me. And it didn't allow me to show up in my life the way that I really wanted to show up. Yep. Listen, I absolutely love this sort of wave. Whenever I say this, first of all, just hard pause for a second. Whenever I say this, I always feel like I'm super old. I don't feel that I am, but you realize how you are and how we didn't grow up with social media, right? We didn't grow up. Like I had my first cell phone probably when I was 18. So when you really think about it, yeah, I was 8. No, I was 17. No, I was 18 when I got my first cell phone. I'm 47, about to be 48. So that means like where I can say now, I mean, I'm on the other side of it, but over, half of your life or whatever without it. And it's not something that we grew up with, but now it sort of just like takes over. So when I see people talking about, no, I love that new reading challenge at anti-rot, challenge or whatever. I think that's something to really think about. And it may mean that you try books you never would have tried before. That you, even if you haven't been a reader, finding something that you like so that your brain can just get a break. Because even to the point where, as someone who reads a lot, I have to tell my brain sometimes to like center, like don't try to skim read. Right, because you're so used to skim reading. Don't skim read. And slow down. And it's one of the reasons why I still will read physical books. I do read on my Kindle, and I do love audiobooks, but I'll do all of them. I'll do all of the books. I think it just makes a difference. And so yeah, so finding that bookstore and finding Miss Ella Evelyn turned me into a reader that was beyond reading because I had to read for class, and turned into me finding a version of myself as a young lady and a woman, based on experiencing having the experiences of the women in the books that I read. And so it just changed everything. And so now, again, it's the thing that I get to do every day. I read for a living. I read a lot. And it's one of the reasons why I want to start doing, not necessarily book reviews. I don't necessarily want to do book reviews, but y'all, this black, man, you cannot be putting black in. When you put black in watercolor, man, it just absorbs everything. And so I just now get to do it and do something that I love. But it also means that I want to just like bring some of the stories and talk about the way that I see the stories, that I think is a little bit different as someone who loves romance stories and who loves helping people to see romance through more than just the fact that it is, you know, you can have steamy romances, because it's more than that. Just like this story. This story was like the one that I read. It was yes, it was super steamy. It was super steamy. It was done tastefully, but it was super steamy. But it was about like finding your voice and her learning how to advocate for her own happiness. And isn't that what we want? You know, she just was trying to do it, and at the end of the day it was at her own expense, and she had to just learn the hard way. And it took somebody seeing that relationship from the outside to help her to see what she could feel, but she really just was hoping. She was hoping, honestly, that it was going to get better, that maybe the dealing with the wedding and the, you know, the destination plans and all of that was the reason why it was getting so bad. And the more that it got, the worse it got, the more she really started having to pay attention to the fact that it had always been that way. But she had just learned how to overcompensate instead of insisting on her own happiness being a part of the equation. And sometimes it's like that. Like the song used to say, it's like that. And that's the way it is. And it was for her. It was, she had to learn. And it wasn't just with her sister, it was her sister and her mom. And I think that's what probably made it even better. Because sometimes, you know, people are your family. That's your family. But people think just because they're your family, they can just do whatever. And that's like, where they do that at? So, yeah. I agree. You said some same thing could be said about music too, where so many songs are love songs, but there's so much to be said about the emotions that go into something like that. I absolutely agree with you. That is so true. Yeah, because at the end of the day, one of the things that I love about romance is that love is a universal goal state that we all want. Who do you know that doesn't want to be loved? Period. Loved, accepted, seen, heard, acknowledged for who they are. So when you have the opportunity to address that in the written form, a lot of times you don't realize that maybe you're settling or you're not in a good situation, or that things can be better a lot of times until you see it from the outside for what it is. And a lot of times you can see that in a book, and you realize like, oh wait, everybody don't live like this. That's not how relationships are supposed to look. You can find a relationship like this. And it doesn't always have to be just a relationship. I mean, the one thing, even though, again, it was super steamy, that they had a great friendship, and he saw her. And most of the time, that's all people want. They want to be like that movie, The Help, when she said, you is smart, you is kind, you is important. They just want to feel important to somebody. And I think the best romances are just universal in that regard. that they just highlight the human experience. And yes, douse with some sexy times, but they just highlight the human experience. Because who doesn't want to be seen and loved and heard, you know? Oh, is that good or bad? I think it's about, well, you I, when people have big channels, I think a lot of times it's easier to see them as being a YouTuber, and we miss the fact that they're people. I think the expectations are hard, make it harder for them to maybe do that. And I also believe that right now, a lot of bigger channels, they're young. Like, no shade. They're young. And that's good. I mean, good for them. I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't go back. Listen, when you get to a certain age, it's like, listen, like me sitting here right now, is take it or leave it. You take it or leave it, not in a bad way. Like, I want people to come. I'd love for my channel to grow. But I think it's like I always think of it as a grown woman swag all over it. You know what I'm saying? So I think there's that. And I also think that whenever you have the bigger channel, like the expectations are already there because you have people, I think it makes it harder for them to grow. And I always get curious about that. Like, how can you fully grow into who you are called to be when you have so many opinions inserted into everything that you do? I just don't understand that. I think that's another flip side of, like, when we talk about, not doom scrolling and all of that. It's the fact that people that are younger, it's like they don't always get the opportunity to fully experience life without the inputs and the judgment of when you make, a mistake. If all of the things that we've ever done, if you are over, listen, I'm not going to ask you how old you are. If you are over your 30s, then you can, yeah, I would say over 30s. You remember a life without social media. Now, we had it, but it wasn't like it is now. Like, we had like MySpace and things like that, but it wasn't like Black Planet, things like that, but it wasn't like the way that it is now. So you didn't have this infusion of it. So therefore, you had a life that you'd built and curated before. Now it's a part of what we do now, but I think it's different. And so when you talk about somebody like me, who I have grown kids that are about to be in their 30s. Okay? So 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 when you have a whole life, like, there's not gonna be a whole lot that you're gonna be able to tell me about me. Not in a bad way, because I listen. I have counsel. I have people that I trust. I have people that I talk to. I love doing this. I feel like it's an opportunity to share what I love to do. I hope it is also an encouragement to people. I hope that as people sit down with me, you're giving yourself this 1 hour or whatever a week to do something that makes you feel happy. But yeah, I don't usually share much personal information on the internet, but I can actually did grow up with social media, so I can't really relate. All about, you can't relate to not growing up with it. Yeah, it's different though. I think it's so different. And it's going to be interesting. That's why I think it's so interesting if you think about now, and this will be the last thing because we got to get ready to go. I didn't realize how much time had passed. And I've enjoyed the conversation. I think that's another reason why I think right now, people wanting to have like analog bags and, anti-rot reading challenge and doing things that do not involve being online is going to be a turning of the tides, that we get the benefit of community in this way, but not in a way that sort of just overpowers everything. That you have things that you do outside of that space that is just fulfilling to you outside of being on the internet. And I think that is when you can honestly get the best of both worlds, because having the ability to do this as someone who quilts and like now I'm painting and all of that, I don't know people in my real life other than my closest friends. One of my closest friends right now, we met in an online quilting group. And now she's one of my best friends in life. Another one of my best friends is someone that I met because we met in another group that we started online and then we met in person. So I think we can get the best of both worlds, but I'm a person that I do a lot of things that I don't know anybody in my real life that does these things. So I wouldn't have, people to share with and enjoy with and hear about all the stuff that we hear about that we don't need to hear about, like more stuff to buy. I wouldn't know about all. I wouldn't have that. So it's like that's the good part about it. But having balance, having other things that fuel you, it just makes for, I think, a balanced life. And the opportunity to share, a Sunday afternoon painting or knitting a sweater or chatting it up about books with people. And you can get both. So with that said, y'all, we're going to get ready to call it a wrap. I'm so thankful for everyone who decided to join me today. If you haven't done so already, don't forget to thumbs up the video. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, we've been doing these every Sunday at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time for the past like 6 weeks. And I'm enjoying it. I bring whatever I'm working on. You bring whatever you're working on. This is where I left off at. And we get to just take unwind for a little bit and chat it up. So I've enjoyed this. I'm gonna do one more box and then I'm gonna get off of here because I am about to go and read a book. So with that said, one more thing, if you're still working on something, let me know how that went. If I do miss your comment, I do come back and look at them later. And I do appreciate everybody that joined me today. I'm going to finish this last little box. Yeah, this one feels like I can't do this type of thing and talk because I do not stay in the lines. It feels like super messy, but I think in the end it'll work out. Because when it dries, I'm going to come in. I just wanted big boxes because I wanted to be able to, I wanted to come in and maybe put some either verses or mark making. And I'm saying that, who knows what I end up doing for real. I just want to fill the pages with pretty stuff. And then when I come back later, be able to look at it and enjoy what I've created. Hold on. But I am getting better with my brush control. And that's one of the things that I think this is helping with. Because at first I was like, I suck at brush control. But I'm getting better. That watercolor class is helping a lot. Okay, I'll show you guys what I have. And then we're going to call it a day. Okay, let me lift it up. And now, next week, I'm hoping that I can set up to start hand stitching again. It's the one I'm working on now. And this one is the one that I worked on earlier, and it's dry. So I'm going to keep going to filling these pages. I want to fill all the pages and then go back and start doing mark making. Like, I think I want to start doing like some wet on wet. I'm doing on both sides of the page. Again, like this is real faint. And like I was showing you guys earlier, I pretty much used all the paint that's in here so I can wash out the little residual. And I'm going to finish this with the palettes that I have, but these are almost done. And I'll clean them out and start with the fresh color. Got a little bit more because I added more yellow. And so, yeah, I think so too. It's gonna, I think once I go back through and some of it, I think I'm gonna add like another layer or whatever, because I was trying to leave some space in between, but that didn't work out too well. So we're just gonna let me do what I do. So yeah. So with that said, everyone, have a fantastic day. Thank you so much for sharing this Sunday afternoon with me. I will see you all really, really soon. Take care and goodbye. And now I gotta figure out how to stop it as always. Bye.